I'm joined now by special effects makeup artist Brittany Nicole Howard. Brittany, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Your art is so fun to me, so
Thank
I'm
you.
really excited to kind of get into the process, but let's talk about you as a young kid.
Okay.
Were you always interested in the idea of making people look different, or did you have a creative outlet of another kind?
Actually, I don't feel like I had an artistic bone in my body when I was growing up.
Really?
In art class, I struggled with drawing. I still to this day don't draw very well on paper or paint or anything like that. So yeah, I didn't really discover this, I guess, talent of mine until I was older.
So when did you even begin to find an interest in not just makeup? I mean, when we're talking special effects makeup, it's prosthetics and sometimes blood and gore. And
Yeah.
I'll let you get into all of that. But
Well, I've always loved Halloween ever since I was a little kid, and I did like to make myself up. I always did my own makeup. My mom would either make my costume or we would, find something around the house to make a costume out of, and I always did my own makeup. So, yeah.
was the appeal to make it scary or just intricate?
When I was really young, I mean, it was like the princess theme and
Right.
the cheerleader. I kind of went through that phase. It wasn't probably until around 7th or 8th grade where I really realized I liked more of the horror side of things.
Yeah.
I've always had an interest in scary movies since I was a little kid. My dad got me and my siblings on a Stephen King as a young child, probably younger than should have been allowed. But so yeah, we've always had that horror genre in our family that we've just loved and latched onto.
So at what point did you decide that you were going to figure out how to make some of these scary creations come to life?
It was kind of a accident, I guess. When I was working at Fort Wayne Community Schools back in, I think it was 2014, some of the kids, it was Spirit Week, and the kids had to dress up as animals, and none of them came dressed up. One of the teachers had a face paint kit, and she was like, well, if you want to throw something on them real quick, that would be fun. So I did about 15 kids in about 20 minutes, and I mean, it was so much fun doing it, and the
Yeah.
kids were really happy. And I noticed as the day went on, a lot of the other staff members were like, that's really good. Like, that's weird that that's so good and you've never done this before.
Yeah.
And that night I went home and bought my own palette of face paint. And ever since then, back in 2014, I've been obsessed. So it started with face painting and it's developed to this, what it is today.
Wow. Okay, so tell me some of the components to making a person look completely different by way of makeup. You were saying it's not just makeup.
No, it's not just makeup. First, I started out learning on my own, obviously, self-taught, YouTube tutorials, whatever I could find. There's a lot of anatomy involved, actually, with the structure of the face. So to transform somebody, you really need to know the structure of their face, find out how to make changes with makeup, just whether it's face paint, regular makeup, or prosthetics. It just depends on what look you're going for and how drastic you want to get with it. So
Okay, so let's say that we are going for, a giant gash on the cheek or something. How do you go about creating that, and do you have to sort of design it before you start the process?
there's a lot of different ways you can make a gash. You could make a gash look realistic with just paint by adding depth to the wound. So I've done gashes with just paint. I've done them with these things called, the proper term is called Pros-Aide transfers. Essentially what they are, it's a 3D temporary tattoo, just like you would put on a regular kid's tattoo. You peel off the plastic, you stick it on. They have those in 3D where they're raised up to make it look like it's part of your skin. So I've done gashes with that. I've made my own gashes out of molding wax that you can buy in the store. I've made my own gashes out of household materials like flour, Vaseline, and a little bit of foundation. So there's all different types of ways. You can spend a lot of money, or you can use household items to make it look realistic as well.
And are these all techniques that you learned, using Google and YouTube?
Some of them are. My earlier ones are definitely ones that I found online. But I did actually go to cinema makeup school in Los Angeles to learn the craft a little bit better. So I am a certified prosthetics makeup artist by trade.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yes.
It has to be kind of overwhelming to go from making a gash with, flour and Vaseline
exactly.
to kind of the big leagues.
Yeah.
So what was your biggest takeaway?
I don't even know where to start. It was hands down the best experience in my life. I mean, aside from, getting married, having
Sure.
kids, when it comes to something I genuinely love doing, that it was the best experience ever. I mean, my husband and I talked about it. We planned it out. I left my children and my husband behind for 5 weeks while I went out to LA to pursue this and pursue my dreams. And it was scary at first, but the first day of class, I was like, this is it. I love this. This is what I love to do. And I learned so much more. You think, you have all the information online. Well, that's what they tell you. Everything you can find at your fingertips. Sometimes you really need to be in that setting with the professionals,
Right.
to teach you how to do it.
So how does one get good at this art? Are you just like constantly asking friends if you can practice?
A lot of stuff is practiced on myself. I do a lot of things on myself to practice, but
Okay.
that is the key to get better, is to practice.
Yeah.
Practice the same thing over and over. If you want to make that gash better, keep practicing that gash. Find different ways to do it, because you're going to find what works for you and what looks good. But it takes a lot of practice to get to where you want to be. So, yeah, constantly practicing on, my friends, family, my children. My oldest won't let me practice on him anymore. I've ran out of chances with that.
Halloween's not even fun at
No,
your house.
he doesn't. He is not interested at all this year in dressing up. I said, well, do you want candy? Yeah, well, you need to throw something on. I don't care what. So, yeah, he's over it.
When you went to school, was it clear to you that you were in fact right about this talent?
I think so. I got so much positive feedback from the instructors there. And I'm talking, these are people that have worked in the industry for years. My teacher did the Curse of Chucky and the different Chucky movies. He did, I don't know if anyone's heard of Apocalypto. That's like my favorite movie ever. He did the makeup for that. The teacher next door to us, Shannon Shea, he's done the Jurassic Parks, The Exorcist. He's worked on some of the big league major films. And so when they said, that's good work, you're doing well, that makes me know that I had somewhat of a talent for it, I guess.
Wow. You mentioned that there are lots of different ways to create the same look.
Sure.
How do you decide what approach you're going to take and what the overall look is going to be?
Well, for a client, if it's an actual client, I will tell them, these are the different ways we can do this look. And these are also the different price points for this look. So it's actually kind of up to them. I actually have a client that I'm working with right now who wants a zombie look for Halloween. I said, okay, great. I can make a zombie look with just using the paints and the makeup for this look, and it'll be this price. If you want to venture more into the special effects side of it and go really extreme, then this would be the price point. So I think it's kind of up to them, and I just create what they want depending on that. I feel like either way it can look good, but it just depends on how far you want to go with the look.
Do you have a favorite look that you've created?
Yeah, I actually posted a one today. There's a Greta Gremlin I did on myself for Halloween a couple years ago. And I did my sister's face, and it had, I don't even know what she was. It was just horrifying. It had like claws coming out of her face all over. You couldn't even see her eyes or her mouth or her nose. And that was one of my favorite ones because we actually went to a club that night to enter into this contest. And she ended up winning the contest, and I got second place. But it was hilarious just watching her try to drink alcohol, out of a straw with, you can't, they're like, where's it going? We can't see anything. So that was one of my favorite looks. It was hilarious.
I'm so curious about how you make claws come out of someone's face.
Yes.
I mean, is that
Actually, the way I did that look, there's lots of different ways you can do it. I made each claw out of it's polymorph plastic. It's plastic you can boil and it melts down and it's moldable. And I sculpted each claw out of that. And then I think I used like Telesis, which is an adhesive. It's like a spirit gum adhesive to glue all those pieces to her face. And then I did some latex work and created it from that and painted it all, of course.
So it's really not enough to say that you're a makeup artist because you're a sculptor and you're
yeah.
a painter and all
Actually, the thing I loved so much about school is when I got there, you're thinking you're going to sit in front of these, nice makeup tables with these luxurious mirrors. And I walk in, it's literally shop class.
Yeah.
It's like shop. There's chemistry that goes into it. You're mixing cement, you're mixing all different, alginate, you're mixing all different materials that you wouldn't think you needed to use in makeup, but
Right.
yeah, a lot of sculpting going on with clay and molding using ovens to cast things. And
Well, Brittany, I think what you do is so cool. And like
Thank
I
you.
said, to limit it to makeup artist is not enough. So thank you for your incredible work and thanks for sitting down with me today.
thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by